Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. Police officers involved in the alleged killing of a minor during an anti-drug operation in Binyan, Laguna are now under restrictive custody. This as police investigation into the case, which was ordered by PNP Chief Guillermo Elizar, continues. The family of the 16-year-old boy has claimed that the victim was shot by the police despite not resisting arrest. Elizar has assured the public that cops involved will face proper repercussions in any crimes if any crimes were committed.
Makakaasa ang pamilya ng mga nasawi at ang taong bayan na personal kong tututukan ang kasong ito. Nananawagan din kami sa pamilya ng mga nasawi at sa lahat ng mga residente na nakasaksi sa pangyayari na makipagtulungan sa isinasagawa naming investigasyon. Hindi mahanap ang katotohanan at hindi makakamit ang hustisya kung tayo ay mananahimik na lamang.
One lawmaker plans to file a resolution to call on the Senate to launch an inquiry into the, quote, unabated police killings in the country. Senator Hontiveros issued a statement following the death of a 16-year-old boy during an anti-drug operation in Binyan, Laguna last Wednesday. Hontiveros called the incident a serious human rights violation that needs to be investigated. She also emphasized that the recent killing must not be viewed as an isolated incident, citing several other cases during the past few years. Now, in other news, the Finance Department is confident that the government would be able to inoculate 100% of its adult population this year. Secretary Carlos Dominguez said the country is expecting the delivery of at least 149 million jabs this year on top of donations from the global supplier COVAX facility. Currently, there are 70 million adult Filipinos, including the 15 million children and teenagers who are aged 12 years old and above. Dominguez said the government would need an additional 25 billion pesos for the 2022 national budget. In total, the budget on vaccines for children and adults would amount to 60 billion pesos, which Dominguez said is feasible. The private sector and LGUs could also top up the existing volume of shots for up to 24.9 million doses. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says about 30 to 40 low-income countries are forced to suspend their vaccination drive midway due to lack of available doses. This means that for those who receive their first shot, it may take a little while before they receive the second one. The countries affected are Nepal, Sri Lanka, as well as some nations in Africa and South America. Now, as of the moment, the WHO said only countries with financial capacity or machinery to produce their own vaccines have access to the jabs. Despite COVID-19 variants threatening a possible resurgence of infections even in vaccinated populations, the Johns Hopkins University says there is no need yet for booster shots. Let's watch this video.
Given all of the positive results that are coming from the vaccination campaign, not only the fact that the safety signatures are really coming through incredibly strong, but also the efficacy of the vaccine, and in particular the efficacy against variant viruses, maintains a very high level. So this vaccine looks really, really good. It continues to look good with all of the studies that have been done since it's rolled out. So it's a little bit of a head scratcher as to why there isn't a more broader acceptance of this vaccine, because there really isn't anything about it that would cause that should cause any hesitancy for people.
I wonder about the Delta variant and how much of a concern that is, because the Brits are pretty well vaccinated as well, and they're seeing what looks like another wave of infections.
Yeah, the critical thing about that is it looks like fully vaccinated people. So if you're talking about the mRNA vaccine, people who've gotten the second dose and are 2 or 3 weeks out from the second dose, those individuals seem to have a good response that protects against the Delta variant. Remember, the UK took a different strategy. They tried to immunize everybody with a single dose initially to get broader immunity. And the Delta variant is showing us that that broader immunity is not necessarily enough to protect against it. You need the double dose immunity, the stronger immunity from a full vaccination course to really protect against that virus. So if you stick to the 2-course vaccine that we're doing here in the U.S., we should be able to provide really good protection against the Delta variant.
Andy, what's the latest on boosters, whether we need them?
So far, everything looks good. You may see some piles of plates behind me here. We're looking at people who've been vaccinated 6 months ago, trying to measure their antibody responses and how they're declining over time. All the studies so far look good, and because this fully vaccinated regimen provides protection against variants, I don't think there's a big emphasis yet on trying to push a booster through. What would drive that is if we see a really new variant that is evading that full vaccination immune response, or if we really notice that 12, 14 months after vaccination, you see a really significant waning of your immune response. But neither of those things have really come to the light yet.
Now, here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. The number of COVID-19 vaccinees in Metro Manila has increased to 380,000 per day. This is according to Dr. Ted Herbosa, Special Advisor to the COVID-19 National Task Force. Speaking to 1PH sa Totoo Lang, Herbosa said, with the current vaccination rate, it is likely for Filipinos to be celebrating a maskless and face shieldless Christmas this year. The COVID-19 task force is considering the implementation of a uniform set of guidelines for vaccinated Filipinos. The protocols will be applied to inoculated Filipinos regardless of where they receive their shots. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. said this will be among the issues to be discussed during their consultations with Israel's health ministry next week. Recall that Israel's rapid vaccine rollout was considered a model for the rest of the world. And doctors in General Santos are calling on the government to impose stricter lockdown measures. This as the number of COVID-19 patients in the city doubled within the past 2 weeks. General Santos City is currently under General Community Quarantine or GCQ. Now, for more updates, visit News 5, the Philippine Star, and Business World Online. You may also visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now, www.signalplay.com, and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. Mask on, wash hands, and stay safe, Philippines. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.